What a week for New York City. The first mayor in history to be indicted. To help sort it all out, Katie Honan of the city and J.C. Polanco, attorney and assistant professor at the University of Mount St. Vincent. First question, what is the over-under on how long Mayor Adams can call himself mayor of the city of New York?
Well, let me tell you, this is a tough time, Marcia. Marcia, listen, I got to tell you, New Yorkers are tired. We're tired of seeing people that we trust, that we elect into office, get themselves in this position. We see it at all levels, state, federal, local. We've had it, and you see it in the coverage since the indictment. Simultaneously, the mayor is entitled to a presumption of innocence, and that's important for New Yorkers to remember. He has not had his day in court yet to launch a defense.
The but?
No, there is no but. Both things are true. Now, this is the issue, Katie and Marcia. The mayor has three options in front of him. One, does he continue to run for re-election, serve as mayor, and defend against these charges? Two, does he continue to serve as mayor and defend against these charges and forget about re-election? Or three, does he forget about being mayor, re-election, and just focus on defending these charges? And that's a very tough decision, and there's going to be a lot of pressure on him to make one of those three.
Katie.
Well, there is a fourth part of that, and I guess it's not up to him. Governor Kathy Hochul can remove him, or the Mayoral Inability Committee can convene, which is made up of the comptroller, a deputy mayor of his choosing, the longest-serving borough president, and elect, and they need 4 out of the 5 people to remove him from office. And when he resigns, if he steps down, I think we see an emboldened, stubborn isn't the right word, but he's really digging his heels in, and his lawyer is very confident, and his lawyer is very critical of the federal prosecutors for just these charges. So who knows? I wish I knew if he was going to resign and when.
So here's the question. His lawyer said that they're going to ask to have this case dismissed for cause.
That's standard. That's very standard in a case like this for him to ask for a dismissal. And then he qualified it today in the arraignment. He qualified it. He said, listen, this is a case that's not what it appears to be, and we believe that it's actually tainted from the grand jury on, and we're going to prove it. That's my point. New Yorkers have to remember, as tired and frustrated as we are about hearing all about this stuff, the mayor is entitled to presumption, and his lawyers starting to put on a case, which is, hey, we're going to ask for a dismissal, and let me tell you why. And I know there are a lot of sharks in the water smelling blood right now, but he is entitled to a presumption of innocence.
Okay, let me ask you this question. Is it realistic for him to say, I'm going to leave the legal stuff to my lawyers and I am going to run the city of New York? Is that anywhere in the realm of reality?
No. I think just because, again, there's the criminal trial, and then there's the job he has to do as mayor, and that involves meeting with other legislators, that involves meeting with non-elected officials to continue your cause of what you're trying to push. Do people want to talk to him? Do people want to meet with him? And, Wednesday he's due back in court. What if there's something that he has to do Wednesday? I think it's a distraction for so many in his office, whether they've been elected themselves, appointed by him, or they're longer time governmental employees, to just continue with his goal and his mission. He's focused on public safety. City, yes, he wants to pass to build more housing, but it all just seems like a big distraction, and I don't see a world where he continues to be, as he says, not distracted.
I need to ask you this question because you spend a lot of time in City Hall covering people and talking to people in the administration. There's a lot of openings already, and there could be more people who decide this isn't for me, I want to leave. How does he run city government and get people to take some of these big jobs like health commissioner or corporation counsel while this hangs over his head?
I think he can sell what they're doing, right? They're here devoted to New York City and the more than 8 million people who live here, the 300,000 plus city employees. But yeah, he is there as the distraction. And there's plenty of people who've worked in government for decades who care about the mission, regardless of who the mayor is and what's happening with them. But for these higher profile positions, you're right. I mean, 2 lawyer positions that are outstanding, the general counsel and the corporation counsel. I don't know who will take on those roles. He hasn't even announced an interim for Lisa Zornberg since she left. So I don't know what will happen.
But there have been a lot of succession plans, Katie. Let's be fair. There's been a succession plan already for the chancellor. There's a succession plan already for the NYPD commissioner. We have succession plans all around for moments like this. We're a very large city, the most important city in the world, and we're ready to go. In addition, there's also a succession plan in the event that the mayor does decide to resign. The public advocate will be mayor of New York City. So we have a succession plan. The city will be fine as we move forward. The question is, let's stop for a second. I don't want to just diminish the importance of these charges or how serious they may be. But we have a candidate for president who's been indicted in several jurisdictions, federal and state, who's been convicted. And let's face it, we're talking about trying to steal an election, sexually assaulting a woman, hiding $500 million or lying about $500 million worth of your companies, hiding war plans in your bathroom. The man has been indicted, in some places convicted. He's within the margin of error of being leader of the free world. Now, not belittling these charges, we're asking the sitting mayor of New York, which in my opinion is the second hardest job in the world, to tell him to resign because he's just been indicted this week without having an opportunity to defend himself when he has a presumption of innocence. It must be difficult for the mayor and his team to rationalize, wait a minute, what planet am I on? Now, New Yorkers are frustrated. We're tired. We've heard about P. Diddy. We've heard about Trump. We've heard, now we're throwing this guy in there. We're tired, and you can see the frustration, but we got to keep level and remind ourselves, there is a presumption of innocence. Let's give this mayor a shot, at least to defend himself. And he has those three options that I mentioned earlier. He's going to make a decision, and he's going to get a lot of pressure from Marcia and from the New York City press to tell us, and from Katie, to tell us what's happening. Now, it's his job to tell the press and tell the people, I'm prepared to do all three. That's a Herculean task, to be able to say, I could run the city of New York, I could defend myself against federal charges and run for re-election. That's going to be a tough one, Mayor.
Your thoughts on that, Katie?
Yeah, I do. He shouldn't, I guess, in deciding what to do, he shouldn't just think of the optics, I guess. And that's probably what his lawyers are saying. But the optics are still there. How do you have a Tuesday press conference where you have a group of reporters and he's been told by the judge not to discuss the case? They said with his family and his staff. Well, I'm not family or staff, so can we still talk about it? There's these questions of what questions can he take? Will people sit in a press conference for an hour and ask him about maybe some new bike lanes or some new school changes in the Department of Education? Probably not. And I don't mean Chancellor Banks leaving, but the real nitty-gritty of government. So there are those questions. And that's a criticism of the press, that, we focus too much on these salacious stories and not what's actually happening in the day-to-day of the agencies. But, I think the first mayor in New York City history to be indicted is a big deal. We should cover it. And I do wish they told us about some of the other stuff going on in the agencies, at least maybe as a distraction away from all these criminal charges.
We only have a little bit of time left, but I'm just wondering, in 30 seconds or less, what do you think is going on in his head right now? Is he thinking, I'm going to beat this? Or does he think, maybe I should look into my soul and say, it's time for me to resign? I
think it's too soon. It's too soon, Marcia. Anybody who tells you they have the answer is lying. It's too soon. We really don't know how much is out there. We don't know what kind of information. And his lawyers are going to sit there and say, listen, this information that they have is damning. You have no option here. You must resign. Or we can beat this. Lawyers are looking at this, and they're going to give him the best advice possible. And I think he has competence.
10 seconds.
He believes God told him to be mayor, and I don't think he's going to leave easily. So that's my take.
I love what you're saying. And we're going to have to leave it right there for now. But our conversation continues on our streaming channel, CBS News New York. We're back with a bonus conversation with Katie Honan of the City and J.C. Polanco, attorney and assistant professor at the University of Mount St. Vincent. So the next question is this: what does Governor Hochul do? She's put out a statement saying that the mayor has to get his house in order and he has to convince New Yorkers that they should trust him. Some people have told me that that was a warning shot by the governor to the mayor to do something. What do you think she's going to do, Katie?
I think she herself doesn't know yet, and she's maybe punting to him a little bit because she's not certain what she's going to do. I don't know politically what removing, like as you said, JC, earlier, he's entitled to a criminal trial like everyone else and he's the presumption of innocence. He was duly elected. That's not a question. I think maybe she's thinking, what's the political calculation for my own reelection? If I do tell the city's second black mayor, you have to step down or I'm removing you. So it felt like she's asking him to get things in order and maybe having private conversations with him and his team about what they should do, because everyone's always trying to save themselves, even if they're in charge of others.
So she doesn't want to fire the bullet?
At least not yet. I mean, it seems that a statement like that seems she's hoping he does something before she does.
I took it very similar to when former Speaker Nancy Pelosi told President Biden, I'm going to let you make the decision. You're going to make the right decision in the long run. But the president had said, I'm going to run for re-election. You said, listen, I think you're going to make the right decision. I took that as a message. Make a decision, before I have to make a decision. Well, and that's how I viewed it.
There's sort of an irony here when you compare him to Biden, because as you both remember, the mayor used to call himself the Biden of Brooklyn. Yeah. So as you know, with the president, there was a several-week period where there were calls for him to resign. or to step aside, and he didn't do it. And finally, he did step aside. So are we looking at the Biden of Brooklyn becoming the Biden in New York City? Will he listen to all these people over the course of several weeks and then decide, yeah, maybe I need to resign?
I think, if I may, Katie, I think that there's a lot of pressure on him. When you take a look at the lack of support he has in the New York City Council, he's tried desperately to put a corp council in. They've declared war on his administration by pushing for consent on his nominations. He's losing support among elected officials across the city that are going to slowly but surely, because of their own pressures in their districts, demand that he resign. You're going to see more citywide elected officials and perhaps candidates ask him for the good of the city to resign. And then the pressure of the New York City media, which is like no other. They're not going to ask him about bike lanes. They're going to ask him about these charges, and to the point that he may be impotent moving forward, and it would be difficult for him to continue. That may happen. And if the governor, who has this kind of power to remove him, says, I need you to make the decision, he may find himself in a position where either he's going to have to be taken out or he's going to have to resign before he even has his day in court, which in my opinion is just incredible to me. Unless there's overwhelming evidence, he hasn't had an opportunity to defend himself. It's so un-American. It's just incredible to me, honestly.
Katie?
I think, yeah, his day in court is different than you could perhaps be innocent in a court of law, but still it becomes such a huge thing that you cannot continue in your job, which, he was elected to, but there are options for him not to stay, and whether he does it or other people. But yeah, again, the pressure is going to continue to mount. And look, it feels like this is just the start, because Deputy Mayor Phil Banks' phone was seized, former schools chancellor, or soon to be former schools chancellor David Banks' phone was seized, First Deputy Mayor Sheena Wright's phone was seized, Winnie Greco, a top aide to the mayor, her home's raided in February. What's happening with those? Those don't seem related to this investigation.
That's it.
There's 4 probes, right? This week, the Department of Investigation raided the Long Island City office of Sheriff Miranda. What's that related to? So it seems like there's a lot of things, and what we saw with Damian Williams is just the start. That's what it feels like.
But I'm sorry, to your point, the additional pressures are going to be incredible. The question that I was focusing on was this specific arraignment this morning. Let's give him a shot. But again, you're right, Katie. There may be new things coming up that we have no idea what's coming down the pike, which is just going to add to that.
So I guess the question then becomes is this. So if he thinks he can weather the storm of his own personal indictment, what happens if other members of his administration are faced with criminal charges? Does that put more pressure on him to say, I got to pack it in?
I think so. And then especially for a potential re-election, which is not that long from now, if you're a voter going to the voting, even if you don't like the other candidates for the primary and you're a registered Democrat, you're thinking, wow, how many people from Mayor Adams' administration were involved? How many people between, now and June got potentially charged with more criminality? It doesn't really show that there's a lot of confidence. I could see someone saying, I'm not confident in this man. It's not just his ability to lead, but his ability to select people to lead with him. So I think that really will play a role in both what he wants to do going forward and then his re-election.
But see, here's another question. So, you hold out the possibility that he could run for re-election. I think in his mind he thinks he could run for re-election. Here's the question. The people who have said they want to run so far are mostly people who are far to the left. He runs in a middle lane, and he appeals to outer borough minority voters who would probably still support him. The question then becomes, will another person who wants to run in the middle lane surface? And there are a number of names who have been floated about.
Like who, Marsha?
Yeah, someone from an outer borough,
outer borough guy who, used to be governor.
Yeah, Marsha, but wouldn't that be insane? I mean, think about it. I'm a centrist, so I like centrists and I like moderates personally. But, I think about the discussion of Governor Cuomo running. Didn't Governor Cuomo resign? Did I miss that part?
He did resign.
He did.
He did resign, and wasn't there
charges of sexual harassment?
Yeah, but wasn't there like a whole?
And then there's like that nursing home thing.
Yeah, I just don't understand how even as a centrist we're looking at this saying, yeah, that makes sense. I don't.
But could there be other centrists? See, that's the thing. It's not that he's the only centrist, but he has money and name recognition, so it does, and he's very popular in the minority community, the same communities that support Eric Adams. So it's not far-fetched that he could run for mayor.
But Marsha, what do you think Katie and her team and you and the press is going to do during the campaign? The questions are going to be about the resignation, and the questions are going to be about COVID, the questions are going to be about nursing homes.
But
so he's not going to be able to give his position on bike lanes.
In the communities, look, he has assiduously worked the
That's an
Hispanic
SAT word.
churches
Don't
and
use
black
big words like
churches.
that.
It's black churches and Hispanic churches, and they love him there if you've ever been to the churches with him. And so he would appeal to the same voters that Eric Adams would appeal to. So it's not far-fetched that he could, if in ranked choice voting and all these other people splitting the vote, that he could cobble together a campaign that's successful. But there are other people who could run in the middle lane. There's Catherine Garcia, who almost won last time. And there are many people in the business community that we who do not know now that could suddenly say, hey, wait a minute, you need to have somebody running in a middle road, and that's me, and take a chance. So, you know, it's not over until there's an election.
And I think also what Andrew Cuomo will say is, I stepped down amidst immense pressure that was political pressure, but look what's happened since. There hasn't been criminal charges against him. Even when he went down to D.C. to testify about nursing homes, I felt his defense of himself as an administration seemed to at least read well when I read it and watched the clips. So this is, again, his almost redemption tour. And you could write a campaign ad of, like, I'm returning to the city of my birth that needs me now, like you needed me at the start of COVID, all of this stuff. This is how people's brains work. He gets a lot of money.
Katie,
Well, I mean,
Katie, the mind reader. That's interesting.
There have been other public officials drummed out of office who've run again. For example, Elliot Spitzer left in a sex scandal, and yet he ran again.
And what
almost
happened?
won. He almost won for controller.
Yeah, I know it could happen, and you're right about one thing, Marcia. They share the same voters. You're right. They're both moderates. They're both centrists. If the mayor's not in the picture, obviously he would be able to appeal to those voters. That's true. Now the question is, I think the progressives in the city are not going to make the same mistake they've made before. They won't split their vote the way they have in the
Yeah, but
past.
there's like 5
and
progressives who are running.
I know, but they will have to have a conversation. And I'll tell you.
Which one of them is going to say?
I'll
not
tell
me?
you what. I'll tell you
Give
what.
me a break.
Okay, no, here the scenario. You've been mind reading. Give me a chance to do the fortune telling. This scenario in which the mayor says, look, the pressure's too much, I resign. The public advocate comes in and becomes the mayor for the next 80 days before an election is called. Now, that'll be a nonpartisan election, special election. Now, I think that if you are now mayor, acting mayor, Mayor Jumaane Williams, you, by default, are going to have the entire progressive wing of the Democratic Party fall in line and consider supporting your campaign for mayor.
Please.
I don't see how you don't. Imagine if you're a far-left Democrat.
Wait a minute.
And you have the public...
You think he's right?
What?
I have now...
Give me something, Katie.
I think anything is possible. The mayor called it the summer of possibility when it was a summer. Now I feel this is anything can happen fall, because everything that I've felt seemed crazy has happened over the last 2 weeks. So I think it's not completely out of the world of possibility that Jumaane Williams is already in office and he says, yeah, I've actually gotten going. I have more name recognition than not all the candidates, but some
So
of
you're
them.
saying he's now going to enter the race, even though
He
he said he
could.
didn't
No,
want to be mayor?
wait, hold up. No, the question, the fortune telling I'm doing, Marcia, say it with me, is that he becomes mayor because the mayor has resigned, which is the city charter. Okay, fine. Now you're telling me that as a citywide elected official who was the public advocate is now the mayor, he's not going to have a coalition of progressives supporting him and getting the others out of the way? Of course. You don't think AOC is going to support him? You don't think that the people that I disagree with almost everything in politics are going to fall in line? Of course they will. And I don't think that it's too far off if that's the scenario that he will have the coalition of progressives supporting him against the centrist. I agree with the centrist
So who
coming in.
wins? A centrist or a progressive?
I don't know. It really depends. In a ranked choice voting where the Republicans are bleeding support, where Trump is decimated the city Republican Party, I don't see how a Republican could win. So it's all about the primary. It will be all about the ranked choice voting primary. Who can win? That's a great
What if
question.
a Republican like Joe Borelli wins the nonpartisan election to replace Jumaane Williams? You know, there has to be somebody that wins to serve the unexpired term of Mayor Adams if he were to resign. So what if it's a Republican? Jumaane Williams sort of goes into the background, and now there's a new person in
As
town.
public advocate?
Yeah, no, there's a new person who's mayor. They have to elect a mayor to fill
Within
the
80 days.
unexpired term of Eric Adams if he resigns. What if it's a Republican?
Well, that could happen. Joe Borelli's is a good person, a friend of mine, and I think that he'd be an interesting candidate. But with 80 days left, I think he would throw his hat in the ring, and I think as public advocate, he'll have support.
And also, by the way, Eric, you know, he's not the only one. I mean, you also could have Andrew Cuomo throwing his hat into the ring in a special election. And what if he were to win? You know, what if he were to win and he suddenly becomes the acting, you know, the filling out the unexpired term of Eric Adams? I mean, it's a crazy time. Anything could happen.
You're right.
I agree. I think anything can happen. And I think perhaps there's a movement if there's so many progressives or some people thinking we need someone who's a little bit more moderate. It depends on what people are trying to offer to the voters too. Even if they're a known entity to us now, they could suddenly say, "This is who I am, and this is what I think the city needs, and I'm here to right the ship." And whatever it is, whatever they think their thing they can sell is.
To your point, Marcia, you're looking at a nonpartisan special election for mayor. Only the most focused viewers of The Point, Marcia Kramer viewers, are going to come out. These are the most educated voters in New York City. They're going to come out, and I'm being honest now, they're the ones that are going to come out in large numbers. Who are the voters that are more likely to come out going to support? And they're the ones that are the most educated, the most in tune, the ones that understand what's happening in the city. So I think that voter is going to be very important to take, and I can see how a centrist moderate may come in. Now, for those of you that are watching The Point, wishing J.C. Polanco does it. I love The Point too much, and being here, I won't be running, but I'll be here with Marcia.
You could run.
You could.
But I could run as an independent centrist, but I love being here on your program too much as a guest to even think about something like that.
You'd have to come back as mayor.
Or you could run even.
No way.
But so I just have one more set of questions I want to ask you. So here's the governor who's got, all the power in the world to remove the mayor if she wants to. But she's also in the middle of trying to help the Democrats flip the House. This is a distraction for her at this time with about a month or so left to go before the November elections. And she wants to put her firepower in trying to help Hakeem Jeffries pick up some seats here in New York for the Democrats. So does she really need to deal with this right now? Could she put it off until after the election so that she could focus on trying to help the Democrats take 1, 2, maybe 3 seats here and help the Democrats take control of the House?
She has a lot on her plate because she's trying to do all that, and then I know on Friday her congestion pricing lawsuit got tossed out. So, or her attempt to toss it out was the judge ruled against her. So, lots of court going on today. So, or on Friday. But this is what we're looking at. I think and I don't know, looking at her re-election, I don't know if she is technically the right person to take all of this on. She's been criticized by national Dems for not doing enough for the party. She's trying to get some of these seats, like you said. I mean, I don't know where her priority should be, but she does have a lot on her plate.
You know, something we didn't mention, I'm sorry it's not part of this, but what about Attorney General Tish James thinking about being New York City mayor? Throw that curveball at you, Marcia. Says you're Miss Curveballs, right?
I mean, it's
what about that possibility?
By the way, she's a moderate.
She's kind of moderate, yeah, but kind of moderate. She could throw her hat in the ring. But as far as your question,
she's got a great job as Attorney General.
Yeah, but nothing beats mayor of New York City. I know she did her part.
I mean, she was public advocate in New York City. We should point out.
And I did run against her in 2017 and got crushed.
Oh, I didn't want to bring it up.
I didn't want to bring it up, but I love. We're good friends. But let me tell you this: I think that she'd be an interesting candidate for mayor. Nothing beats being mayor of New York City. The only job that comes close is president. So I don't care what people tell me about, statewide office. Being mayor of New York City is amazing, which is why it's such a hard decision for the mayor to think about leaving. I mean, you are king of New York City. It's very tough to just walk away from that. Now, to your question about the governor is working very hard. You're right. She doesn't need this nonsense. She has seats she can flip. She's thinking right now about Long Island. And let me tell you something right now. This news about the mayor is not going to help out the Democrats in Long Island trying to beat some of these Republicans in November. So this is definitely a distraction. I don't know how she deals with it, and that's why she put that message out. Make the decision. Please don't give me this. I have a lot going on.
You raise actually a really good point, and that is that the Republican state party has jumped on the mayor's case, saying this is an example of why one-party rule in New York is not a good idea. So they're going to try to make hay. The question is, can they make hay with the Eric Adams indictment in congressional races and picking candidates to go to Washington? Last question. Go ahead.
I don't know. It's a lot, and I don't know if she's capable of it, and there's so much going on. And like you said, they're trying to convince increasingly more conservative Democrats on Long Island and these places that used to be very more solidly blue to not vote for Republicans anymore, especially in these big seats.
So this helps the Republicans?
I think it, I think
Isn't that crazy?
In a way, yeah. They're saying, oh, here's this corrupt Democrat. Even though it seems like the mayor is getting support from more conservative people because they maybe now seeing him, they blame his support of his criticism of the federal government for it. All these kind of conspiracy theories that are unproven at this point, but I think it does.
I think it's obscene, and it's very rich from people in my former party to tell me about how awful it is to support an indicted candidate when their candidate for president and leader of the free world has not only been convicted but indicted in 3 different jurisdictions and charges to follow. I think it's just absurd for me that you're supporting this man and trying to tell me that someone that's indicted is just an awful thing. I mean, you can't do both. I mean, it's just incredibly rich. And if we're being honest, and your viewers are objective folks, it's ridiculous to tell me that you're going to support former President Trump for leader of the free world and tell me that these indictments are just way too much for you. I mean, really, give me a break.
On that note, Katie Honan, J.C. Polanco, thank you for joining me, and thank you at home for joining us as well.